This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Jennie Lewis, Senior Manager, Customer Insights at Airship. Jennie, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Terrific. Thank you for coming. All right. Imagine you have a bakery shop. I'm sorry if you listen to this episode before your lunch, but it will help me to make my point. Anyway, you see people coming through the door every day. Some of their faces are familiar to you. Great, they become your recurrent customers. Now, as much as you like to see familiar faces and possibly become pals with these people, it's not the end of the story. Your recurrent customers make your business financially stable and predictable. Now, switching to mobile apps, each day you're selling your quote-unquote donuts in hundreds, and given how much you're investing in attracting new users, you really need to have recurrent customers. Acquiring a new user can be as 5 times as expensive as retaining an existing one, on average. And in this episode, we have Jennie to tell us about app retention. But first, Jennie, let's kick off this conversation about app retention with talking about you a little bit. Tell us about yourself, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead the customer insights function at Airship. We are focused in the research on economic impact and quantitative results. So helping brands that we work with figure out, are their mobile app strategies working, and then how to tweak and adjust based on the data.
All right. So first things first. Let's define a 30-day app user retention. This is quite popular metric for app marketers. So what is its definition?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 30-day retention means the people who 30 days after their download are coming back and opening your app again. So just very simply, you downloaded on the 1st of the month. On the 30th of the month, you've come back and opened it back up. That you would then count as a retained customer, and it's a rolling number. So we look at it, 30 days from each person's install.
Now, I always wonder, there's a small wrinkle in this definition. Are we talking about meaningful action or just open the app? Are we trying to count something like, opening a message, placing an order, registering for some platform, or just opening the app like, you're getting that message from LinkedIn, you think it's maybe something important. No, that's not important. It's just the message to lure you in because, the page you're being administrator for, you basically don't really pay any attention, but you see this red dot. You have to click on the app, you open the app, and boom, LinkedIn gets your opening of the app as the signal, and it counts as the 30-day app user retention. So what kind of actions are we counting in for counting 30-day app user retention?
Yeah, fantastic question. So for this particular metric, for the day 30 retention rate, that's just an open. So it's not looking at a high value action. It's you've just come back and very simply opened the app. I'm actually working on a study of install to high value actions. So I've done a few pilots with customers of ours at Airship that have been really interesting. So stay tuned on that. I can come back and tell you more once it's released.
That's cool. Now, what is the average retention rate for iOS and Android as it stands today?
I look at them in aggregate. So because if you look at them separately, the curve is actually almost identical. And just to keep it simple, I do look at them together. It's 8%, meaning only 8% of people are coming back 30 days after their download, which is a pretty huge cliff.
Yeah, so roughly speaking, you're losing like 90 people out of 100, more or less, once the 30-day period is over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, people may hear these numbers just kind of skim over, but it should them really make them to pause and think what's happening. So now, recurrent customer, the one-time customer, people may intuitively understand that having a recurrent one is better. But let's put this formula in numbers. Can you give me an example to illustrate how low retention rate influence the business bottom line?
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned it at the top of the episode, the cost of acquisition. And there's some really interesting data out there around how much does it cost per install. The numbers that I typically use are from Liftoff. They did a great study about trends in install data, and
Mm-hmm.
their average for a customer to install for US or for in North America is $5.28 per install. So it's a pretty big number
Yeah,
that
it
we're
is
talking
a pretty
about,
big
like
number.
per install. And if you look at it from a very conservative perspective, let's say you take an app that has, let's just call it 10,000 downloads a
Yeah.
month, so 10,000 installs a month, which is a very conservative number. You take that cost per install of 528, your average of 8 or 9%, day 30 retention, you're looking at a lost acquisition cost of over $424,000 a year.
That's an uphill battle. That's really, I don't know, when you hear this number that the cost to get an app user is $5, and you have to realize that if you're selling Teslas, if you're selling, seats on the next SpaceX, that's great. But in most cases, that's not the case. Your business may be selling something for a couple bucks per customer. So, and on top of that, if you see that you actually people are just moving in, moving out, basically not really, making a stop to make any business with you. It's like you have your doors are open, both the back door and the front door. People just skimming through, like they're going for your app, like through grocery shop in a big mall. They're not they're not staying with you with their business. So that's why we're bringing up hypertension on the show over and over again. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, let's transit to a solution. What brands and marketers should do to fix this glaring problem? What steps should they take?
Right. So the data shows that really the worst cliff is within the first 2 days after download. So within, you've got the first day that somebody opens and then the 2 subsequent days. And my recommendation is for brands to go and set up an onboarding series. If you talk to the customer, explain, how to use the app, how to get value, get some way for them to get it, like we were talking about a few minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
that time to a high value action, right? Like some sort of value from the app in the first couple of days. It does give a stickiness factor that's going to help them retain. We actually show in the data that the onboarding campaigns, you see a slight lift in retention each time one of those messages goes out. So if you're sending on day 2, you see a little sort of divot spike in the
Mm-hmm.
retention. So that's my number one recommendation. There's of course, a lot of granularity to that about how do you make a great
For
onboarding
sure.
experience. But that's the way to go.
We live in a very dynamic world, and the app industry mirrors its rapid changes. Your app growth depends on new knowledge and skills like never before. This December, one and only Berlin will open its doors for app marketers from all corners of the world. Go to apppromotionsummit.com/Berlin to register and be part of it. Yeah, I would just add that think of it from a psychological point of view. People may grab your app out of real necessity. They need to solve some problem. But once they get the app, they may be distracted by something on their agenda. Their kids may have some problem they need to be totally dedicated to. You're running for any chore. And you're getting incoming call for somebody that needs your help. And this short period of time, which like when the app is kind of on the background of their conscious, within this 1 or 2 days, and you can just remind about the app logically. This is not spamming. You're just continuing a conversation with your customers with this short period of time when the app is really relevant.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would attribute that chance to actually retain people once you have this onboarding process in place. And once you're done with this 2 days, you have a way better chance to retain your customers down the road.
Absolutely.
So, I actually like to ask this next question to many guests on my show, which it's a kind of asking about a superpower. If we have a power to change anything in app marketing, what would you like to change? What would be that one thing?
Oh, I think attribution. I would want to make the attribution process more seamless because my belief is that mobile app is influencing a significant more amount of purchase than it's getting credit for right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like influencing action in other channels, as a browse prior to purchase, for example, doing pre-shopping and in the Home Depot app, but then actually going to the store to buy.
Yeah, as the app economy keeps growing, the number of sources where you may get your customers through is increasing, and I think this game becomes progressively harder and harder to actually attribute where these people are coming from, especially when we're trying to kind of meet the both ends. From one side, trying to respect people's privacy, which was neglected for years and years. Now we're kind of coming back to this important issue. But on the other hand, we don't want to kill the marketing as the species, like as a system. So we should try to carry on and respect privacy, and at the same time making sure that marketers still can understand how they deliver, what are the sources that do work, that do deliver customers for the app. And so we can even evaluate which ones bring you loyal customers, which one are not, so you can prioritize. All right. This is the first part of the show, but there is a second one. It's small but cute. On top of bringing an important topic and discussing it on the show, I do want to give a chance to every guest on the show just tell a bit about herself or himself to the audience so people can know them better. Quick questions. What smartphone do you have now? Are you back and forth between these two giants or on one side all
Oh,
the time?
I'm iOS. My whole house is covered in Apple devices. Yeah, I actually just got the 13 Pro because of the camera.
Oh,
Love it,
congrats.
love it, love it. Yeah.
Congrats. Back in time, what was your first smartphone before multi touch screens?
My very first mobile phone was a car phone in a bag that plugged into the
Wow,
lighter. Yeah,
one
and
of
it had
those
a little
species.
antenna that went on the roof like a magnet. That was my very first mobile phone.
So it was mobile, but not really mobile.
Yeah, yeah, it was, I mean, as much as a car moves.
Yeah, especially yeah, right. That's funny. Yeah, it's it's given for us. We do remember those times, but it becomes harder to explain your kids what exactly do you mean by phone was connected to your car.
Yeah, you were like, wait, the phone had a corded antenna
Corded?
that went on the
What's the
roof
cord?
of the car. I imagine explaining this to my daughter in 10 years, and I don't think she's gonna quite visualize it.
Okay, back to the present. What if you left your smartphone at home? What would be that missing feature for you when you're out?
Express pay on transit. You can walk up and just sort of wave your phone
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
over the subway turnstile, and you just zoop right in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be hard to live without.
Got you. Um, what new app technology, software, hardware are you looking for? And I used to ask this question, kind of implying, asking for more features, both hardware and software. But now I'm really just asking, what would you like this phone to be able to do? Not necessarily do more, but just to be a better device in your pocket.
Connects better to my headphones. I just don't know why it can't work better. It drives me nuts every day, the amount of time I spend trying to get headphones to connect to a device.
Forget reconnect. Yeah, that's what drives me nuts too. Whenever echo noise cancellation goes off and you have to put them back into the charging case, I do wonder what's going on. Why why still have to do this? So yeah, that's I totally hear what you're saying. All right, very final question. Before I let you go, how can people get in touch with you and get more information about what you do?
Oh, LinkedIn is the easiest way.
Okay, terrific. And that was Jennie Lewis, Senior Manager, Customer Insights Airship. Jennie, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on our show and spending this time with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps so you will find us easily. We release episodes on Mondays. So subscribe and you will be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer if you still listen to podcasts on computer, which I doubt. And please don't forget to leave us a review and comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.